Now, before we end here, let's talk a little bit about the Democratic Party.
I knew we were going
And
there.
in particular, this, so I don't see if I could, this is a new program I'm using. Let's see if I can share my screen here. There's a new article out on Mr. Joe Manchin.
Yes, yes.
Should show up. Here we go. So, new piece in The Intercept from Ryan Grimm. Joe Manchin for president. Lyndon B. Johnson, a giant of American politics, recognized a political opportunity and reoriented. Manchin would rather be the man riding the bomb to the ground. Now, I read this piece. I never thought I would truly enjoy any piece titled Joe Manchin for president. But this is very well written in the sense that if Manchin, so basically the argument here from Ryan Grimm is if Manchin cares about power, if that's what he is seeking, if that is part of his desire, then he should do what LBJ did and make it read the tea leaves, realize you can't, you're not going to be popular if you keep riding or going the way you're going. Make a turn, support Build Back Better, be the deciding vote on these big key items, voting rights, Build Back Better, and become popular and potentially ride that into a more powerful position. So I think, again, assuming Joe Manchin cares about power, I think this is a great argument for him. Now, the issue that I see with this piece generally is just that it's in The Intercept as opposed to, like, if this was in the New York Times or the Washington Post, I think Joe Manchin may actually consider the strategy. But because it's in The Intercept, a place that has gone after him countless times, exposing his corruption, I think he's less inclined to, read this and take it to heart. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? What do you think is motivating Joe Manchin ultimately? Is it power? Is it simply just money and wealth? Like, what do you think is behind his recent actions in terms of saying that he's a no on Build Back Better and just being, the obstructionist that he's been being?
Well, first off, I worked in a Senate. I was a 16-year-old who worked in Senator Schumer's office in Buffalo, New York. So please don't hold that against me. I think I made up for it when I actually walked up to Senator Schumer like a month ago and at an event, and I yelled at him about Joe Manchin. But actually, this is important because what I did say to him, this does loop together. So in Senator Schumer's office, you would sit there and you go through clips. So they do actually monitor all the press. He may not read everything, but at least his senior staffers are aware of it. Because that was my job, was clipping them when I was 16 and opening mail and taking that Cipro pill.
But even like the Intercept, like even places like that where it's a little more left wing.
Yeah, they need to know what's going on. It's to this day I still have that habit. I still read the New York Post every day, and because you need to understand what's going on. But when I saw Senator Schumer like a month ago at this big conference, political thing. I said to him, well, first I said, I was your former intern, because he loves his staffers and he's always like staying in touch. So he's very excited. I was like, that's how I meet him where he is. And then I go at him and I go, what are you doing? I said in a very vocal way, and everyone's like nodding their head because everyone's frustrated with Manchin. Even the most hacky of hacks are frustrated with Manchin. And he said, he says, well, we're dealing with it on the inside. We can't do it on the outside because it's very sensitive. And I'm like, I'm not buying that, dude. Like I just said, it was like, yeah, okay, well, you want to be the leader, right? Like, he goes, well, he might become a Republican. I said, yeah, you're going to lose like 5 other Democrats because you're dancing, you're playing this game with Manchin. So it goes back to that original question is, what is he responding to? What is motivating him? I think this is just like politics in 2021, and this is where I'll differ with Ryan Grimm. Politics in 2021 functions differently. The carrots and sticks are different than they were, in the 60s and 70s. Lyndon Johnson, when he was in the Senate, he was a Democrat. Even though he was a Southern Democrat and there were other Democrats, there were a lot of cultural issues within the Democratic Party. But at the end of the day, they were Democrats. It was actually a Big Tent party, and labor was still very involved, and labor could be extremely problematic. But the Democratic Party today, is less functional internally, despite the fact that we probably have more in common today, meaning I would say that we're pretty much uniformly an anti-racist party. There's obviously going to be some exceptions. We're very much supportive of women in politics. That was not the case back then. you know, the big issues that divide us are the financial issues. You know, labor or not labor. You know, are you an Obama Democrat or are you a Labor Democrat? So with that being said, Manchin is not operating from a place of being a team player in the Democratic Party the way that Lyndon Johnson did. Lyndon Johnson had an agenda to get things done. Joe Manchin clearly does not have that agenda or that motivation. I don't think Joe Manchin wants to be leader. I don't think he wants to be president. I think he's a sociopath and probably like one of the worst ones in Washington, which says a lot. But at the end of the day, I don't think I don't think it's about money even, because he's making a lot of money. Like everyone was like, oh, you know, Sinema's just trying to get a job on CNN. Hey, breaking news. She could have left Congress and gotten a job on CNN. Like she's not doing this for $200,000 a year. There's something much bigger in their psyche. And you know, and I don't know also who's in his ear on the other side and what they're threatening him with. We're not privy to this stuff. And that's the truth of politics. It's a really dirty space to be in. And so if I were Biden, I probably would have gone a little bit more public earlier. I think that's the issue is Biden's staff, the administration is not used to negotiating these types of power moves. I think Biden probably is a little bit more, but his staff isn't. I'm concerned. I don't know what's motivating Joe Manchin. I don't think it's money and power. I think maybe it's a combination of all these things, but I don't think he wants to be president. And also I don't think LBJ wanted to be president. I mean, that was later. But when he was in the Senate, did LBJ want to be president? He would take his meetings on the toilet.
But the thing with a lot of these people, I mean, it's, you know, a lot of people in politics, they want power, right? They crave power, and often power comes with wealth, and it's those two things together that drives a lot of people. That's why Bernie was such a, you know, is a incredible person, because he has been in there for so long fighting for the same thing, and he kind of fell into, you know, running for president. Clearly didn't really want to do it. If he did want to do it, I think he would have thought about it earlier. But he saw the need to do it because there was no one else that was coming forward with an agenda that was actually for the working class. And that's ultimately almost like the issue with this structure in general, is the people that seek these kinds of positions, like the president, often are doing it out of personal gain, out of a desire for power, out of a desire for wealth, and not out of a desire to actually help people. And the ones that do want to help people, like into politics, they're the ones that are, you know, thrown away at some point. They're the ones that get played. They're the ones that trust people too much. And you end up, you know, with a bunch of sociopaths in a primary, you know, going for president. And it's, you know, there's no winning there. So, which is ultimately why we have to get back to building actual power, as you brought up unions. I mean, when you have real working class power putting pressure on people in power that need that working class support to be able to gain the power that they desire, that is how you actually get real change. Because without that real pressure point of the working class working together, fighting for these various issues, fighting against or for certain candidates, then without that, you have no power. So I think that's, you know, ultimately, and we all discussed this on the left, the need to build a working class power, the need to, you know, unionize, form unions, and of course, the union legislation that Biden was working on. I'm not sure where that's gone, but you know, if that ever gets, you know, out in front to a place where it's passable. Manchin claimed that he's for that.
Yeah.
So
well, now the coal miners are up against Manchin, and that's his
that's
base
right
too. I mean, it's interesting because, like, I also think this is important for left organizations out there. There are a lot of new left organizations that I worry that they're not focusing on the labor aspect. You know, they're challenging a lot of members that are really good with labor, are not great members, but are definitely not the worst. And I don't know why. And I think a lot of people are trying to say that out loud. Like, why are you asking all these people to give small dollar donations? You know, for races that like it's just, all I can say is, folks, you know, get as involved in the labor movement as you can. If you are in a workplace that's not unionized and can be unionized, but also not every workplace can be unionized. There has to be a certain number of employees. There's lots of different metrics here. Learn about it and you know, simultaneously support folks, that are unionizing or in unions or striking, and understand labor as much as possible, and make sure the candidates you're supporting understand labor as much as possible, because it's not just rhetoric, it's not just issues. These are actually places we learn how to be better organizers, politicians, and folks who are working in the movement. This is where we our muscles are tested, and in a way that we now see that President Obama clearly doesn't care, just doesn't care.
Yeah,
He's in Hawaii right now, doesn't care.
Yeah. And just to bring it full circle, that's why groups like Matriarch are important. Seek out these organizations that are actually of the working class, that are fighting for the working class, or of the working class, and are looking out for your best interests. But Nomiki, thank you so much for coming on for this wide-ranging discussion.
So
and
much
again,
fun.
it was fantastic. Links are, again, below the video to Nomiki's show as well as to Matriarch. Everybody subscribe to Nomiki, and thanks again for coming on.
Thank you very much, and I hope you come on our show soon too.
I will.